As the destructive Boeing B-29 Superfortresses wreaked havoc against Japanese aircraft and infrastructure, the Imperial Japanese Navy was in desperate need of a new high-agility interceptor. Among the many proposals was an unorthodox-looking aircraft, and the brainchild of longtime researcher Captain Masayoshi Tsuruno, the Shinden. The unique aircraft had its power plant fitted to the rear of the short fuselage swept-back wings, and despite its strange appearance, the so-called Magnificent Lightning was quickly considered a wonder weapon of the Japanese Empire. The only World War II aircraft of canard configuration that any combatant ordered into production showed so much promise that the Imperial Japanese Navy didn't even wait for a prototype to be ready. All the Kyushu J7W Shinden needed was more time. An unexpected aircraft. As World War II expanded across the world, all the participants researched everything they could about potential aircraft designs to face and beat each other's enemies. As early as 1940, Captain Masayoshi Tsuruno, a member of the Imperial Japanese Navy's Aviation Research Department, began studying the feasibility of a canard aircraft design. Canard, a French term used by designers and engineers, describes an aircraft with the main wing mounted at the rear of the fuselage, with a smaller one fixed to the front. Although unusual, this sort of design was trialed by manufacturers around the globe during the war, most notably the American Curtiss XP-55 Ascender prototype fighter. Tsuruno's design included swept wings in the back of the fuselage, a nose-mounted canard, and the power plant also fitted to the rear side. According to his research, this configuration would enable high-level performance and could be easily adapted to turbojet power when such technology became available. 3 years later, as the American B-29 Superfortress high-altitude bombers were becoming Japan's most significant adversary in the skies, the Imperial Japanese Navy issued a request for proposal for a similar version, calling for a land-based fighter capable of intercepting the enemy bombers. According to the specifications, the aircraft had to achieve speeds of over 460 miles per hour, reach 26,247 feet in 10.5 minutes, and carry up to 4 30mm cannons to be able to keep pace with the Superfortresses and other Allied state-of-the-art aircraft. Eager to prove his research to the Japanese Navy, Captain Tsuruno quickly worked up a design with the pusher configuration and submitted the document. While the Navy's top brass was interested in the captain's design, most officials were hesitant to move forward with such a radical and untested design, consequently requesting Tsuruno to develop a proof of concept. Working with the 1st Naval Air Technical Depot at Yokosuka, Captain Tsuruno then developed 3 MXY-6 gliders. This proof of concept was an all-wooden construction with a canard layout and a fixed tricycle landing gear. Each swept wing mounted to the rear of the fuselage had a vertical stabilizer with a mounted rudder and elevators mounted to its nose for pitch control. The canard design's feasibility was quickly proven during the glider's trials, including one of the models later fitted with a 22-horsepower semi-11.4-cylinder air-cooled engine for powered tests. By the end of the year, the Imperial Japanese Navy was impressed enough with the testing procedures and gave instructions to move forward with Tsuruno's canard interceptor concept. The aircraft was then designated J7W Shinden, meaning Magnificent Lightning. Magnificent Lightning. The Navy chose Kyushu Aircraft Company to design the aircraft, as both its design team and production factory were less burdened than other Japanese manufacturers who were busy developing other military aircraft projects for the war effort. Because the aviation company had no previous experience with high-performance fighter aircraft, Captain Tsuruno was chosen to lead a Yokosuka Naval Air Technical Arsenal team to contribute to the warplane's development and construction. With an official construction order for the J7W1 prototype issued in 1944 and a planned first flight in January of 1945, Kyushu engineers began to work on the unique plane right away. The Kyushu Magnificent Lightning used the same layout as the MXY-6 gliders, but covered the airframe with aluminum panels, thus forming a monocoque fuselage structure with a long nose assembly and the cockpit fitted at center mass. In addition, the low-mounted swept-back wings contained vertical surfaces, acting as the aircraft's rudders, protected during ground actions by small wheels. Knowing the importance of cannon armament in Japanese fighter aircraft to bring down larger Allied aircraft, Kyushu engineers included 4 30mm cannons, each with 60 rounds per gun, and an additional 2 7.9mm machine guns. According to now Chief Project Engineer Technical Lieutenant Commander Masayoshi Tsuruno, A concentrated blast from the planned cannons would cause significant damage to the internal structure of the technologically advanced and feared four-engine bombers of the U.S. Army Air Force. The engineers then used ballast weights to simulate the cannons and guns during the prototype's testing. Behind the cannon weights was a single-seat cockpit for a pilot, under which there was a 106-gallon self-sealing fuel tank made of thick rubber, followed by a Mitsubishi HA-43 18-cylinder twin-row air-cooled radial engine that delivered 2,130 horsepower to the 8,019-pound frame and powered a unique six-bladed propelled system. In all, the Shinden maintained a unique design with promising specifications to perform as a useful and quick responding interceptor, with a planned top speed of almost 470 miles per hour, a reported service ceiling of 39,300 feet, and a 2,460 feet per minute climb rate. The J7W Shinden canard-style interceptor became the only aircraft of its type ordered in quantity production during World War II, and certainly one of the most unusual Japanese aircraft ever designed. The flight of the canard. To counter the imminent threat of Boeing B-29 Superfortress raids, the Imperial Japanese Navy ordered the Kyushu J7W Shinden into production in May of 1944. Only a month later, the United States Army Air Force's B-29 raids began, and the pressure was on for the magnificent Lightning, as the interceptor was explicitly built to disrupt these bombers. The initial production schedule called for the Kyushu Company to produce 30 aircraft per month, while the Nakajima Aircraft Company would build 120 units in the same period. Estimates predicted a total of up to 1,086 Shindens produced between April of 1946 and March of 1947. Still, by 1945, it was becoming evident to both Axis and Allies that the Japanese armed forces were crumbling, and it was just a matter of time before they surrendered. After the bombing raids delayed delivery of the engine for months, the disassembled Shinden prototype arrived at the Mochiroda airfield, now Fukuoka Airport, on June 15th. After reassembly, ground tests soon indicated that the aircraft's engine tended to overheat due to a lack of cooling airflow. The following month, as Captain Tsuruno attempted the first takeoff aboard his brainchild, the Shinden engine's torque induced a roll to the right, causing the pilot to abort the maiden flight. Finally, on August 3, 1945, the prototype, still with Captain Tsuruno at the controls, lifted off from the Mochiroda airfield at 126 miles per hour, with a top speed of 160 miles per hour and a duration of 15 minutes. The pilot flew the Shinden twice more, on August 6th and August 9th, the same day as the United States detonated the atomic bombs on top of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. During the three flights, the Shinden demonstrated potentially serious yet solvable problems. The aircraft pulled hard right with applications of full engine power at takeoff, and the propeller and drive shaft exhibited strong vibrations. Thus, the engineers contemplated several changes to the initial prototype and further speed tests on the aircraft's next flight, scheduled for August 17th. Despite being a promising model, the writing was on the wall for the novelty aircraft, and all work abruptly stopped when the Japanese surrendered on August 15th, only 12 days after its maiden flight. Magnificent Lightning no more. Although Shinden was expected to be a highly maneuverable and effective interceptor, the aircraft never fulfilled its promise given the situation of the war right at the start of its development. Consequently, the Magnificent Lightning never got to prove its worth in battle. According to several experts, Tsuruno must have suspected that the end was near, but he remained a cautious and conservative test pilot. Tsuruno never raised the landing gear in flight, and the Shinden clocked only 45 minutes of total flying time. These short flights revealed several problems that were set to be fixed in the following models. By the time Japan surrendered, the second J7W Shinden was near completion, and the third prototype was under construction. The fourth planned aircraft would incorporate a four-blade propeller 11 feet in diameter, intended to cure some of the Magnificent Lightning's tendency to roll to the right. While the second and third models were destroyed following the surrender, the first prototype was captured by U.S. Marines and found without its glass cockpit and with damaged body panels. The model was repaired and repainted under American Armed Forces orders, and then disassembled and shipped to the United States in the fall of 1945. After several failed attempts throughout the decades to make the surviving Shinden flightworthy, its damage, most likely due to a typhoon, was too severe. Then, in 1960, the Kyushu J7W Shinden was transferred to the Smithsonian National Air and Space Museum, where its forward fuselage is still currently on display. Thank you for watching our Dark Skies video. Please let us know your thoughts on the story of this canard configuration aircraft, and hit the bell icon to be the first to know about our new videos. Also, for more exciting military and historical content, don't forget to subscribe to all the Dark Documentaries channels.